Okay, this is a video follow-up to the one I made 3 months ago that dealt with replacing or repairing the window regulator electric control box on the driver's side of a Dakota 2003. And so that repair worked fine, but like I said, 3 months later, apparently the motor went bad, and I had to order a new regulator. And so this video is going to show you how to remove the old regulator and put the new one in. Now, in all my years of doing most of the repairs on my own vehicles, I would say that was at least 40 years, I had never ever had the opportunity to need to repair the inside of a door panel. And so frankly I was dreading this because in my imagination it was something very complicated and just looked like something I didn't want to tackle. So I've been avoiding that. Anyway, I got on the internet, YouTube as usual, and looked at the previous videos that someone else had made, and so they were pretty informative, but they just weren't detailed for someone like me that had never, got inside of a door panel. They left too much out, is what I'm saying. So I'm posting this video in hopes that you'll have a complete understanding of how the electronic systems in an electric window work and how to get them out and put them in. When I started this project, of course you need to take the interior panel off, and there's only 4 little screws that hold that on. And in the first video I showed you how to get the electric control panel out, so I wasn't going to be redundant and do that again. So I'm picking this video up with the inside door panel removed and the plastic cover removed, and I'll take it from here all the way through the end. So this is what you're looking at when you get the door panel off. These 2 rods right here will be flopping in there loose. These are the rods that work the inside door handle to open the door. And they're not too complicated to get off. It's a little difficult getting them off with the door panel already on there, but when you go to replace this door panel, there's a little arm that goes on the end of each one of these. Put the arm on here first, and then connect the other end of this little arm into the interior door panel. It's much easier. So this is the way it looked when I took it off. As you can see, these wires are all exposed here, and you can actually see the wire coating coming off some of them here. The truck's 2003, and they use a fabric coating, and it just deteriorates. And before we're finished, I'll show you what I did with that. These arrows are pointing to the 6 bolts that are necessary to take this unit out of there, and frankly it was pretty easy, a lot easier than I thought. Start to finish, just doing the panel probably took me 45 minutes, just replacing these insides. So I'm going to locate these bolts for you, so when you open your door on a Dakota, it's going to be the same way. Your motor sets right in here on the back side of this panel, and then this is a channel that goes from here over to here, and your window sets in this channel. So these 4 bolts here are holding the unit on there that contains the motor, and if you notice, you've got 2 holes right here and right here that are designed so that those bolts are put on the motor frame before you insert it. So all you have to do is slide it into these big holes and then pull it this way, and they go into the little slot. And that's way better than trying to lift that heavy, it's not real heavy, but it's bulky unit up with one arm and try to thread those bolts with your other hand. So make sure you remember to put these back into the new unit. These 2 don't have those big holes, so you have to leave these off until you get these on. This bolt and this bolt here, there's a little track in here, a little track with an arm that goes from here up to here, so you have to take these 2 off. And then you're almost ready to take this unit out, except for a couple of things. I'm going to go to the next figure. Okay, so this is the track at the bottom of the window. And there's a hole on the left side and a hole on the right side. These bolts here are attached to the glass. And so you need to take this little nut off right here on this side and do the same with the other side to get that window. You have to move the window up in order to get it out of the way so you can remove the motor. And this is the nut on the other side. The track runs from one end to the other, and this goes up and down with the window. So you have to take these nuts off. And by the way, one thing you might want to have handy before you even start this is one of these magnetic, I call them nut and bolt finders, in case you drop one down inside the door. Not that you couldn't get them out with your hand, but it's much easier if you have one of these little handy tools. Pay particular attention to this photo. This is the top arrow is the stud that's sticking out of the bottom of your glass window, and then you can see the rail that's attached to. You have to, before you can move that window up, you have to kind of pull the rail away from the stud so you can get the stud out. Don't try to push on the glass too hard because it might crack. It just got to come out maybe 3/8 of an inch, and then lift that stud so it sits on top of the rail. And you have to do the same thing with the other side. And once that's done, you can take your hand and slide that glass all the way up into the closed position. Okay, once you get the window up, you have to be able to hold it up there. So I used an old 1/2-inch socket extension and put it in a piece of supporting metal on the inside of the door and wedged it up underneath the glass. And then just to make sure that it didn't come slamming down on my hand or something, if it got knocked loose, I put some duct tape on the top of the window up around the top door frame to hold it in case that came out. But it didn't come out, and so everything worked out well. Another close-up of the bolts. You'll notice there's 4 holding the motor structure in place, and then to the left side of the picture you'll see another one that comes out that's part of the track system. Those 5 little bolts have to come out. Okay, I took a photo that was incorrect. I didn't find out till I got it in there. But the first 2 bolts you put in on this one are right here and right here. This one goes in from after you get these 2 on, from the inside of the door. This one and this one hold that in place. Okay, so now I'm finished. The door is operational on the remote, but before you cover everything up, take a visual check. If you'll notice right in here, this is a spot of wear for these 2 wires. And so I'm going to protect this wire down to somewhere in here, these 3 wires, so that they don't get a short later on. It's another area where you could have problems, and maybe serious problems. Okay, so now you're going to see the areas that I replaced and repaired. You can see all the wires are installed with zip ties over the original keepers. And I've coated the wires in any areas where they might be rubbing on steel edges, like right here. You can see the keepers. Those are the original keepers. Those little gray slits in there are the plastic keepers. And you can wrap zip ties around them to hold the wires in place so you don't have to mess with taking those off. Pretty easy to do, actually. And then, of course, before I was finished, I went through and cleaned up the inside panel. Got all the dirt and crud off of there so it looks real pretty. Not that anyone will look in there again, but it's just the way I am. You can see the plug, that's the motor plug there. The new motor's plugged into the existing. Have to be particularly careful with that though, because when raising up and down the door, you can see that door might be catching on the wire there. And so I installed another keeper up in there to hold that wire out of the way so the door didn't catch on that, or it would have caused some serious problems and shortened out wires, maybe even ruined the new motor, who knows. But you can see where that was going to catch there, and so I got that repaired. Right there you can see that it's well out of the way.
Okay, so one last look. You can see the motor plug down there was taken care of. All the zip ties are taken care of. It's the panel's cleaned. Temporary hookup to the control panel so you can check the window and make sure that it works before you cover it up. So everything seems to be out of the way. Make sure you check it good, because once you cover it up you can't see what any problems might be. You can see the window rising and lowering in there. I'm running the remote. It looks fine. And we'll have to now disconnect the remote in order to get the panel in there. I use WD-40 for the cleaning. Put it on a rag, spray it on a rag and wipe it on there. The reason I use that is because it's a rust inhibitor. You just squirt it on this rag and you can clean everything up real nice. Get into areas that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to get into with the panels on. And also, the reason for cleaning is if you ever do need to get in there again, you can see any leaks or any problems from grease that you know would have to be after you did your work. Okay, so now you can see all the plastic on there and the tape. It's sealed up and ready to go for the final panel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck with your project. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was, and you can do it too. See you later.